Hi, this is Sweet Life, and I'm Natasha, back at it with a recipe for a simple but eye-catching and belly-filling roasted turkey recipe. Thanksgiving is just a few weeks away, and I know that as the time gets closer, people will be figuring out their menus. As a kid, Christmas was my favorite holiday, but as I've gotten older, Thanksgiving has become my favorite holiday. When I was in college, I would fly to spend the holiday with my mom, often arriving on the day or like the night before, which meant I got to eat but didn't have to cook. For some reason, when I got my first apartment and couldn't make it to my mom's place, I often made something else, as I'd gotten the idea that a whole turkey is expensive and difficult to cook. It was several years before I realized that wasn't the case. Turkeys usually aren't that expensive and can feed a crowd. With proper preparation, they can be juicy and flavorful. Here's one method for making a simple but tasty whole turkey.
A turkey that I've just washed down with some vinegar, water, really got all over, drained it, and here you have it a bit dry. To this, I'm going to season it with some black pepper, just taking care to rub the pepper all over. And I've also put a bit of seasoning salt, just really rubbing both the breast, the back, getting all under the wings, all in the cavity, really taking care to season it. And to this, I'm now putting blended seasoning, which is just some onion, garlic, herbs, scallion that I put into a blender with a little bit of water and just blend. So sort of if you think of like mojo or sofrito, but in this case, it's really just onion, garlic, and some herbs and whatnot. Really pouring it all over, rubbing it all in, getting all in the wings, all on the breast, all on the back, down the cavity. So pouring from both ends, taking care to pour down like the neck opening and the other end, whatever you call that. And so just continuing to rub this seasoning in. If you'd like, you can add a little bit of pepper to it, which I do. But in this case here, I'm going to take care to make sure that I get a little bit under the skin of the breast. All inside the cavity, really taking time to work it in. Here I have some allspice, and just like with the other seasonings, take the time to rub it in. Sprinkle it over the breast, sprinkle it all in the cavity, get between the skin and the breast. Just really work it in, taking the time, which is going to help to ensure that you get a flavorful bird. So now I have the neck, giblets, things like that. I actually like to bake this with the turkey, and I have that as a snack on Thanksgiving Day. So here I have my roasting pan. Nothing fancy, just roasting pan that I'm going to put the turkey in. What I like to do is get some aromatics and put them at the bottom of the pan to kind of create a stock, which I often then use the gravy to help make, well, the drippings to make gravy. And then the vegetables I chop up and use in my stuffing, or you might call it dressing. So to this pan, before putting in the turkey, I'm going to just add in the aromatics. So basically, you can think about this as a very concentrated stock because you have all the flavorings and whatnot, just not water added. So to the bottom of the pan, I'm going to put in some carrots that I've just peeled, some celery, which I've just cut in half just to ensure that it can fit into the pan. If you have a larger pan, you can certainly leave it whole, but I'm cutting it down just to make sure that it fits. I want like a flat layer. To this, I've just taken a large onion, cut it into 8. That I'm going to drop into the bottom of the pan as well. I'm not too worried about cutting this up like really small at this point because I can chop it up afterwards. And then to this, I've got the aromatics in goes the turkey. And so just place it right on top of the vegetables. You can also, for like regular dinner, on a regular night, you're roasting a chicken, you can certainly do something like this. You can put vegetables on the bottom. Into the cavity of the bird, I'm going to add in the neck, the giblets, all that kind of stuff. Just fit it in. It's going to bake with the bird. I like to have this, like I said, as a snack. And so, you can kind of get a little bit of bird before everyone else gets a chance to eat. Just take the drumsticks, tuck them into that little flap, so that way it helps to keep the shape of the bird. You don't really have to worry too much about the breast, unless you're using a very big pan. In that case, you might want to then tuck the wings in just to help it keep its shape. But this pan is just about the right size for the turkey, so I don't really have to worry about that here. Got the turkey in the pan, And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and just add like a few little more things just to help it get some color. Make sure that I continue adding flavor. So to the skin, you can actually put a little bit of oil or butter, which will just help it to get color. I'm going to put a little bit of oil and some seasonings to give it a really nice brown color. I'm also going to cover this with foil because it's Thanksgiving Day. I have other stuff to bake in the oven. The roasting pan does have a cover, but it takes up quite a bit of space. So another consideration is moisture. In this case, I'm going to add a beer, just pouring it over the turkey, which is also going to add some flavor. It's going to help contribute to creating that, like the pan drippings and your gravy. You use whatever kind you like. In this case, I'm using a light colored beer. I don't want it to be too strong in flavor. And so to this, we're just going to keep adding to the flavor. A little bit more seasoning salt, as I didn't really add any before. A bit of paprika, which is going to give it like a nice color while it's cooking. Again, you're just going to take this, a bit of oil, which will help the foil in this case to not stick to the skin. And just take your time and rub that in. You can see already like it gives it a kind of brownish color. But when this goes into the oven, it's going to caramelize. Just take time to rub it all over, all on the breast, in between the creases and crevices, all up in between the wings, the legs, all over. You want this bird looking good. Get all up on it. Think of it like you're at the beach, tanning. You want it to be even. Flip the bird over. Same thing on the other side. A bit of oil, a bit of seasoning salt, a bit of the paprika. Just taking time to rub it all over. When you have this bird on your table, you want it looking good. Seasoning salt, paprika. Rub it all in. Sprinkle it over. Don't be too liberal to the salt because you don't want it to be too salty. But take your time. Rub it all over the bird. You want it to be nice and even in color when it's done. Flip it back over. Just give it a nice little rub again. If there's any places where like the coating might have rubbed off a little bit. And we're good to go. This turkey I'm going to bake in a 350 degree oven just until it's done. What that is really depends on the weight of your bird. What I would say is you test the dark meat, the drumstick and thigh in particular. I don't suggest using those little pop-up things because they can be inaccurate and quite often they're placed in the breast. So cook to the legs. Out of the oven, here you have the turkey. You can see it's nicely brown through the legs and the back portion of the breast. I actually made 2 turkeys, one for Thanksgiving and one for a potluck. The second one, just to make it easy to serve, I went ahead and just sliced it up. So the turkey's just broken down, ready to eat. If you have a large family, you can consider something like this as well, where if you have to do 2 birds, you do one that's whole and that's like your presentation piece. The other one you cut up, you break down. So when people are ready to eat, you're not then carving at the table.
I hope you found this video useful and hopefully it inspires you this Thanksgiving. If you end up using this method or some variation of it, drop a comment and let me know how it turned out, or share your favorite recipe or tips and tricks. Be sure to check back next week as I make some more Thanksgiving dishes and then just other recipes in the future. If you like what you see, go ahead and subscribe to the channel.